In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
This is The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Now, here's Frank Morano.
The old expression, the old Dickensian expression, bears true this hour. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Because, my friends, for the next hour, not only will you be forced to endure my commentary, but you will be treated to the wit and wisdom of someone who is a multilingual, multi-continent star communicator and comic impresario. I am very, very pleased to welcome back translator-turned-writer and model-turned-stand-up-comedian from Taiwan, the one and only Vickie Wang. Vickie, it is great to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
The reason I say it is the best of times and the worst of times is because Fred Rubino is here as well. Hello, Fred. Welcome back to you as well.
Thank you. The big build-up and Fred Rubino. It's like the bad ingredient in your cereal.
Fred, it honestly is great to see you, especially with you wearing that great Other Side of Midnight t-shirt, which is available in the Other Side of Midnight online store.
I look smarter in it, don't I?
I
do, don't I?
Very dashing.
And taller.
All right, Vickie, for people that have not heard our previous conversations, give folks a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of your life and career trajectory. I know you're a New Yorker, you're an American, but also very much a proud Taiwanese person. How's this been? When did you live in Taiwan? When have you lived in the United States? And where do you call home?
So I only have the American accent. I do not have the passport that goes with this. I am still Taiwanese, born and raised. I was in Taiwan for school all the way up to graduate school. I was in the U.S. for 2 years as a high school exchange student. Very formative years in the American Midwest, Missouri and Minnesota. Shout out. I moved to Shanghai, China in 2013 for work and was there for about 10 years. And that's where I started doing stand-up comedy, mostly in English.
Now, so just to be clear, so I didn't realize you're not an American citizen at all then.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, so Fred, you're still married, right?
I am.
Yeah. I am. Me too. So we're
I am a citizen.
Yeah.
So
well,
Frank's harboring illegals now in the studio.
No, I'm here on a talent visa, and I'm very happy on that visa.
Oh,
and
even if you weren't, we don't kick anybody out of this city.
No.
Yes, exactly.
No, and I do not want a marriage green card because that is just a different kind of work visa. I am not going down for that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you've been back in New York since May. You know, you mentioned so you've performed in the United States, you've performed in Taiwan, but you've also performed in mainland China.
Right, that's where I started.
And so I think the image that a lot of us have of mainland China under the Communist Party is that it's not necessarily an environment that is conducive to free expression and mocking social mores or poking fun at the government. Do you have to walk a bit of a tightrope when you're performing comedy in a country like China?
For sure. So before I even did my very first open mic, I was told the red lines that I was not supposed to cross. So that's like talking about the 3 T's. That's Tiananmen Square. That's Tibet. That's Taiwan. No politics, no LGBTQ issues, nothing too scandalous. So for a comedian, that takes a lot out of your time.
But at this late at juncture, we'll cut you some slack. Now, in terms of going to Taiwan and performing in Taiwan, are the sensibilities of a Taiwanese audience comedically different from the sensibilities of an American audience or a mainland Chinese audience?
I mean, the Taiwanese audience is definitely a little bit more liberal and open-minded than the Chinese audience, and they're more comfortable with political issues. But they still have their, we have our cultural baggages, we have our social expectations. So I would say
but there's no restrictions like what you had to deal with in China.
No, it's just a matter of taste, right? Like I would say, like a Taiwanese audience compared to an American audience is probably a little bit more conservative, but not that much so.
I am very pleased to see you sporting a Mets jersey, which I did for most of the day today. And you said this initially was from a Taiwan Day that they did at Citi Field?
Yeah. So the Mets do a Taiwan Day, I think, once a year. And that's the day where they celebrate Taiwanese culture. They bring out Taiwanese American artists, singers, like, politicians, and they do a whole day. And for that special day, they have a ticket package that comes with this jersey.
Oh, cool.
That's the Mets, classic Mets jersey, but it says Taiwan on the back, which is one of my favorites. Absolutely.
Hopefully you'll be able to wear that for at least another week or so, and the season does not come to an end tonight. In terms of where things are with China and Taiwan now, we've been covering, and you've been kind enough to sort of be our guide on this, the tensions between mainland China and Taiwan and how that might involve the United States. What's your understanding of what things are like at the moment?
Well, so we just had our National Day, which was October 10th. Our president gave an address to the nation. And obviously, addresses like that are always monitored very closely by, the Chinese government. And he had said some things. So, he tried to engage China and said, we will engage in dialogue with you on a respectful, equal basis, which obviously China refuses to do, right? Because they don't recognize us as an actual country. They believe that Taiwan is part of China, which we respectfully disagree. China, as we expected, then announced a surprise round of war games where they basically, for under 24 hours, simulated a blockade around the island of Taiwan. They sent something.
And your family's still in Taiwan, right?
My family's still in Taiwan.
I have to think that's pretty disconcerting, seeing a bunch of warships circle your home. Or is it not?
For one thing, you can't visually see them from the city. But also, this has been our reality since before I was born. This has been happening and more intensely in the last 2 to 5 years. In the last 2 years, China has been sending over warplanes past the median line into our waters almost every day. Wow. For this war game alone, they sent over 153 military planes, and over the course of a month, that's it's just been trending up. They're getting more intense with it, but also the Taiwanese people, we don't panic about this because this is just what they do.
Gotcha.
They just threaten us all the time.
There was a lot of controversy when Nancy Pelosi announced that she was going to go to Taiwan. She was getting some criticism from both the left and the right. She was getting some praise from both the left and the right. Then President Biden sort of seeming to give contradictory answers on what the United States would do if China were to try to launch an invasion of Taiwan. That, engendered a whole bunch of finger pointing and criticism, and the people in his administration were saying, oh, no, he didn't really say what he just said, kind of a deal. In terms of the upcoming presidential election in the U.S., do most of the Taiwanese have any sort of a rooting interest in terms of one of the candidates having a policy that they would consider to be more friendly or less friendly to Taiwan?
I mean, I'm reluctant to speak on behalf of 25 million people.
Sure, all right. We'll speak on behalf of 17 million.
Yeah. We do it all the time.
Exactly.
Well, I would say that a Harris presidency would definitely be safer for the Taiwanese people. I mean, you're allowed to feel how you feel about Donald Trump. I am not a big fan of his, mostly because he is so erratic and he's so easily seduced by dictators.
So the thing that I wonder is because, in some respects, he seems so tough on mainland China, calling them out for COVID, the tariffs. I could see some people in Taiwan being like, yeah, stick it to them. But I guess the counter to that is, if you don't know what he's going to do, maybe he'll also be kind of buddies with Xi Jinping.
Exactly. He already brags about how close he is with Putin, and Russia and China are buddy-buddy. So it's not a stretch to think that once he's actually in power, he's not going to be on our side.
Lastly, and forgive me if I asked you this before, does Taiwan not extradite fugitives back to the United States? We did, right? Okay.
You're very
I am very fixated on this.
That's Italian. You just want to know if I go on the lam in Taiwan, will they return me?
I don't know what it is, Fred, but I've always had the sneaking suspicion that I'm going to be a fugitive and need to get out of Dodge quickly. And I'd like my options in terms of, I feel like I know Vickie, she could put in a word for me with her family. I could at least know people there. She could tell me where all the English-speaking comedy clubs are. So do we have any finality on this in terms of whether Taiwan would send me back here for whatever crime that I absolutely did not commit but will have been wrongfully accused of doing?
I really should have Googled this after we talked last time. However, I would like to present to you an alternative option. We have this thing called a gold card. It is a talent visa for interesting and competent and successful.
Where do I fit in any of that? Yeah.
I mean,
do you have any other things that Frank
you're
could use?
You're a media personality, and I can write a recommendation letter for you.
I may take you up on that. That's good. Okay, thank you. All right. Now, Vickie, before we bring Fred in here, and there's a lot that I want to go over with both of you. You are actually going to be performing in New York at Rodney's on October 2016th. It's Wang's Comedy World, right? This is more exciting than Wayne's World. What goes on in Wang's World?
Well, so I am co-producing this show with Jason Steinberg. He is a talent manager, has been in the industry for decades. He's awesome. We have an awesome lineup of comics. We have Asian Americans, we have Italian Americans, we have Jewish Americans. We got the whole gambit.
You don't have Fred there, do you?
Not yet. Maybe on the next round, Fred.
Right, okay.
Is Weinberg Chinese? Is that it? Steinberg is Chinese. Because I know he probably eats a lot of Chinese food, Mr. Weinberg.
So it's October 26th, Wang's Comedy World. It's at Rodney's. Where's Rodney's? It's in Manhattan,
Rodney's on the Upper East Side.
Yeah. The old Rodney Dangerfields.
Yes.
Oh, it is the old Dangerfields?
Yes.
Really?
Same location.
Yeah,
and now beautifully decorated.
So if people want to go get tickets for Wang's Comedy World, they can go to the website for Rodney's Comedy Club, which is very simply rodneycomedy.com. Have you performed there, Fred?
I have once.
All right.
One time.
That may,
it didn't go
that's
well.
the least surprising thing that I've heard. Once. All right. Vickie Wang is here. Fred Rubino is here. We've got a lot to cover from the world of comedy to the world of international affairs and more. You're in for a treat. 646-720-0635. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature. Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Hi, recommend getting your heart trampled on to anyone. Yeah. Recommend walking around naked in your living room.
21 minutes after the hour. This is The Other Side of Midnight. This is You Learn by Alanis Morissette. This is a birthday bumper music request from my neighbor, John Charles Kiernan, who is a great guy, also happens to be a principal of a Catholic school, and lives across the street from his mother, who is also just wonderful. So happy birthday, John Charles. My effort is to minimize the number of jokes that I make at your expense, not only on the air, but throughout the day. Happy birthday. Hopefully you're not expecting a gift in addition to that. All right, you are in for a treat. I have two very funny people with very interesting lives in studio. Vickie Wang is a comedian from Taiwan. Fred Rubino is a comedian from Brooklyn by way of Jersey and Florida. And Fred, how did you survive the storms down there in Florida? Were you okay with all that? I should have trekked up on you, but I guess you're okay.
It's very easy. I was in Jersey.
That'll do it.
You got to get out. You don't understand. When you go to Florida, you know who's the native Floridian and who's from up north. The Floridians stay. They're like, we're going to ride it out. Mm-hmm. And all the New Yorkers and stuff are like, get out. Let's just get out. It's one day. It goes through for 5 hours. It's not your second marriage. You don't just wait it out.
All right. Want to pick your brain on a few things. By the way, Fred, are you performing anywhere that folks should be aware of?
This December, I'll be at America First Warehouse in Ronkonkoma. It's a great venue. Also, I'll be in Staten Island at the Looney Bin and a couple of restaurant shows in Jersey. FredRubino.com to see where I'm playing.
Fred, hey, by the way, you know our friend Johnny Potenza is celebrating his birthday in Arizona this week. Are you aware of that?
I did not know that he's even allowed in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's more shocked than me. I mean, you'd think only if he was in the witness security program he'd be out there. All right. I want to get both of your professional opinions on something. Last night was the Al Smith dinner. I'm going to be talking more about this probably a little later. But the tradition at the Al Smith dinner is usually you have whoever's running for president make jokes about their opponent, about themselves. Last night, only President Trump attended in person, and he made a lot of jokes. He also said some very serious things. But one of the people that he was making some jokes about was New York City's current mayor, Eric Adams, who is, of course, under indictment in part for his dealings with Turkey. And Mayor Adams did at one time claim to be a vegetarian. Donald Trump.
Mayor Adams, I'd like to poke some fun at Eric, but I'm going to be nice. I just want to be nice because I know what it's like to be persecuted by the DOJ for speaking out against open borders. We were persecuted, Eric. I was persecuted, and so are you, Eric. The mayor's dietary restrictions are well known, but I've got to say I've never met a person who's a vegan who liked turkey so much. There's something about him with turkey. I just found that out today. I haven't been in New York that much. Don't let it, but you're going to win, Eric.
All right. What's the verdict on Trump as a comedian? I mean, I have to think, even if you despise him as a person and as a political figure, you got to give the guy his just desserts when it comes to, or just do when it comes to his comedy chops. Fred, what do you think?
100%. I give him an 8 out of 10. He's always been funny. Even when he was on Saturday Night Live, when he was just, a tycoon and a billionaire, he always had a sense of humor. And for this Kamala not to go there and poke fun of herself shows weakness. Yeah, that's what I say.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. Vickie, what do you think of Trump as a comic figure?
Hack.
Oh. You're not buying it.
Hack. The turkey as a country versus turkey as a food thing is that's just so hack. Yes, a hack joke will get you a laugh because it's been done before. You got it out of a joke book from the 90s.
Yeah, see, that's my problem. All my jokes are puns, right? I mean, they call me the great pontificator. All right.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be able to afford some writers.
Yeah, so did you see any of the rest of the speech? Were there any jokes that he made that you got a rise out of? That got a rise out of you, I should say?
No. I mean, the turkey thing is funny. Like I said, and he's allowed to be funny. Like, if someone's funny and I disagree with him, they're still funny.
Yeah, but all right, so you're giving him a high mark,
I'm
Fred.
giving him an 8. I think making people laugh is a hard thing to do.
True.
And he did it with class. He didn't really hammer. He could have hammered him. He could have hammered Adams.
No, well, it seemed like Adams was one of the people he was nicest to. I'm going to play a little later what he said about de Blasio, which wasn't even jokes. It was just him.
You don't have to joke about de Blasio. Just give his whole...
Yeah, there was no attempt at humor there. All right. A couple of things I want to pick your brain. Oh, I got to ask you both about this. One of the things that made a lot of headlines, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, was Jerry Seinfeld, who's maybe the best known stand-up comic still living. He was saying a few months ago that the extreme left was making, I don't remember the exact terminology that he was using, but he said the extreme left is making comedy very difficult. Performers have to be too cautious and things of that nature. Well, apparently he has now taken this back. He's no longer, he wanted to go on the record taking back what he said. This was Jerry Seinfeld yesterday.
I did an interview with the New Yorker. Mm-hmm. And I said that the extreme left has suppressed the art of comedy. Mm-hmm. I did say that.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's not true.
No?
No.
And he goes on to say how the gates and the goalpost change with comedy over time.
If you're Lindsey Vonn, if you're a champion skier, you can put the gates anywhere you want on the mountain. She's going to make the gate.
Right.
That's comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the culture is, we make the gate. Mm-hmm. You don't make the gate, you're out of the game. The game is, where is the gate? How do I make the gate and get down the hill in the way I want to? So does culture change? And are there things I used to say that I can't say, that everybody's always moving? Yeah, but that's the biggest, easiest target. You can't say certain words,
right?
Whatever they are, versus about groups. So what? The accuracy of your observation has to be 100 times finer than that to just be a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
This was on Tom Papa's Breaking Bread podcast. Let me begin with you, Fred. What do you make of Jerry kind of taking back what he said back in that New Yorker interview where he said the extreme left was limiting comedy?
I think when he said it originally, he was lashing out because people were canceling him to go to college shows and stuff because the college kids were all woke and stuff. But now I think he just realizes that comedy is always changing. So there's always parameters that are moving, and you just got to be clever enough to move with those parameters. And he knows how to do it. He's one of the greatest of all time. And I think what happens is you get a little lazy. Like, you have your set, you have your shtick, and then, society says, we don't feel that that's really that funny. And so now you have to hustle. And good comics will overcome that all the time, and I think he realized that.
At 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight, joined in studio by Fred Rubino and Vickie Wang. Vickie, what did you make of Jerry's comments there, both his initial comments and his sort of taking them back?
I mean, as a comedian who used to do comedy in China, obviously I have very different sensibilities around cancel culture than the average American comedian. I think there are always things you can't say. And there are plenty of comedians who are still working in China under censorship and doing a great job. So I think you work with your limitations. The other thing is, I think of comedy as like a professional service, right? Like you walk into a comedy club, there's an understanding, there is an implicit contract with your audience. They bought a $25 ticket and 2-drink minimum so that you make them laugh. Mm-hmm. And if what you do at the onset is to make them upset or uncomfortable or angry, you broke the contract. That's not what they're there for, right? Like comedy is not, it can be a place where, you challenge people's thinking and you introduce new insights.
That's the clever part of it.
That's the clever part of it.
But I don't like the comics, like you said, that come out and say, you know what? I'm going to insult them. They're going to be raging and they're going to be, that's not what they came for. Mm-hmm. They're not to be insulted.
Yeah.
So I guess what both of you are saying, and I think what Jerry is saying, is that where maybe 35 years ago, you might have been able to make this type of joke that everybody would have had a chuckle at, in 2024, the world has changed and maybe not everybody has a chuckle and views that as innocuous as it would have been viewed 35 years ago.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, if you're using material from 5 years ago, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, you're just not a very good writer. Move on.
Yeah.
How many times I've seen I've seen a comic recently do a joke about the Poseidon Adventure movie.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh my God, how many people in this crowd got that joke? No one.
That was one of I have to get him back on the show, but there's a comedian out of Atlanta named Jerry Farber who, that's always the knock against him, which is that his joke is, it's very young because all his jokes are just barely old enough to drink. They're just 21 years old. And his act hasn't changed in 21 years, but Jerry's a great guy. I don't mean to knock it. I think he's even said that. But so you don't think this is an instance, Fred, and I know you're conservative, where like Jerry got a talking to by the powers that be who run the world and said, hey, you better not pick on the extreme left. It's nothing like that.
No, this is Jerry Seinfeld. He's a billionaire. He could do anything he wants. Okay. He could rent Madison Square Garden and say whatever he wants. No one's telling him what to do. But he's adjusting because he wants to be funny.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Do you guys watch the show Seinfeld?
All the time.
You do as well, Vickie?
Yeah.
I was reading an article recently about the 5 worst episodes of Seinfeld. And I love the articles like that because to me, even the worst episodes of Seinfeld are better than the best episodes of almost any other show. And one of the ones that appeared on a lot of these lists of the worst episodes.
Chinese restaurant.
No. That's a great episode. Come on. Is the episode where Jerry believes that his dentist, who's played by Bryan Cranston, Tim Whatley, is secretly knocking him out and then molesting him while he's under laughing gas or whatever else. And a lot of the reviews, and I kind of understand where they were coming from, were saying this is one episode that hasn't really aged that well. Molesting people while they're asleep and drugged, maybe that doesn't go so well in 2024.
Well, sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes people just don't want to be molested, so you have to do it at that point. But let me tell you something. I thought that was a great, great episode.
Me too. I enjoyed it.
And the writers, the copay's a lot when they molest you.
The writers, maybe they were just inspired by real life events.
You never know, right? Larry David and Jerry, you never know what they were up to.
But that's the thing with good comedy; it reflects real life. Yeah. Like it's supposed to be authentic to real life, and it might have reflected real life.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Vickie Wang is here. Fred Rubino is here. Vickie, just going back to the situation with mainland China and Taiwan and the tensions that are going on there. Apparently, you mentioned the military drills that were happening around Taiwan from mainland China. Apparently, the Coast Guard sent something of a creepy message to Taiwan during these military drills. Yeah. Keeping in mind with what we were just talking about. What exactly was the creepy message?
So they had created this image that looked like it came from like paint in the 90s. And it's a red heart surrounding the island of Taiwan and basically saying like, sweetheart, we're coming for you.
Oh,
and
it's like a Hallmark card.
It's like a blockade, a military blockade of love. So a lot of people who saw this were like kind of creeped out, and a lot of people were like comparing it to like abusive relationships, or like kind of, it feels very rapey and sexual, like very Me Too.
Now, I know it's from the Coast Guard, but who gets to make that kind of a decision? Is that something that comes from the very top of the Chinese government, or is that something that, I don't know, a captain of a Chinese naval vessel can send on their own? How does that happen?
Honestly, if I had the answer to that, I would be sitting in D.C. right now.
Yeah,
if I had that kind of insight into their information structure.
Fair enough. All right. I want to pick your brain on a few other items as well. Fred, there was an interesting story. Apparently, there's a former Republican representative that says a silent group of women will help push Harris to victory. What did you make of this? I thought that was sort of an interesting remark for former Virginia Congresswoman Barbara Comstock to make.
Many men have fantasized about a fabled place where women are silent. It doesn't exist. It does not. You have a better chance of finding Atlantis than a group of women that are silent. It's just not going to happen. Let me tell you, it's a fairy tale wrapped in a fantasy. There are no silent women. Have you ever gone to the barbershop? You and your barber say like 3 things, and then it's silence. I take my wife to have her nails done. They're yapping and chirping, and there are no silent women. That's just a fantasy. It's El Dorado. That's what it is.
No comment, especially if my wife is listening. Vickie, any reaction to Fred's analysis of this Barbara Comstock commentary on the election?
Well, so I have seen a lot of liberal content trying to reach conservative women, saying that, hey, your husband doesn't need to know who you vote for. Like they're putting stickers in bathrooms and like putting up flyers and stuff, basically telling women that like you don't have to be honest with your spouses about who you're voting for. So I think maybe that's kind of the silent women that they're talking about. It's like, oh, women who may be married to conservative men and want to vote the other way and, don't want to suffer consequences for it.
Any reaction at all to Fred saying there are no silent women? I mean, is that the kind of thing that would get him kicked out of Wang's comedy world?
By definition, I curate a lineup of very opinionated women.
See what I'm saying? I'm onto something here.
Apparently. Let me ask you about this. There's some lions that killed a zookeeper as she went to clean cages. Now, I'm going to be at the Bronx Zoo on Sunday, and I hate to hear that there are people dying at zoos. I mean, I don't intend to get that close to the lion, but this group of lions mauled a zookeeper to death at one of Europe's largest big cat parks. What's going on here?
I've made a lot of poor decisions in my life, from the 5th grade to like 10 minutes ago. And all of those bad decisions combined have not limited my ability to make a living to the point where I could only clean a lion's cage. It's time to just aim higher. I think they should get people like that and talk to kids in school and say, kids, stay in school. I clean lion cages. I failed. I'm a failure. Kids will stay in school.
It's like the Scared Straight program.
Right. And how about his kids? How about take your kid to work day? We're going to clean the lion's cage.
Well, somebody's got to clean the lion's cage, right, Vickie?
And it ain't going to be me.
I mean, I have 4 cats. I clean after them all the freaking time. And no amount of saying in school would have spared me that I did that to myself.
But you wouldn't clean a lion's cage, right, professionally?
I mean, I read the article. I would have locked the door behind me.
My goodness.
That's what happened. The zookeeper, she failed to close a door.
And again, it's this liberation from not performing in communist countries seems to have gotten the better of you.
Too free. You see,
Exactly.
you can't have them that
It's
free.
getting to my head.
Exactly. Send a memo to the communist Chinese that one of them is loose. All right. In terms of
silent women.
Exactly, Fred. See where you started?
I'm so smart.
All right.
It's the shirt.
Let's go to Egypt. The most eagerly anticipated museum on Earth is apparently finally opening. Apparently, the Grand Egyptian Museum is a pretty big deal. And once it's fully operational, this is going to be able to hold more than 100,000 items. I think this is pretty exciting. What do you think, Fred?
Let me tell you something. I've been to museums. Every time you go to another city, someone goes, hey, you want to go see the museum? They're all the same. Stop saying there's a new museum. It's the same thing. They all have Egyptian things. They all have the Greek things. There's no new stuff in the museum. It's no one says you want to go to the museum and you say, oh yeah, what's in there? You know what's in there. We know. You see, New York tried to get around that. They made like a sex museum.
Right, museum of sex.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you gone?
I have been there,
Yeah.
actually, yes.
Well, I haven't gone. Listen, I'm married 40 years. I just look around my house, and that's my sex museum.
Since you asked that, I don't want to leave people with a misimpression, but I went there
on a school trip.
No, I went there 14 years ago. I went there 14 years ago with the former Manhattan Madam, Kristen Davis, and Roger Stone, who at the time was still dealing with some degree of public disgrace because he was apparently advertising in a swingers magazine while he was running Bob Dole's presidential campaign.
And to prove he's not a swinger, he went to the sex museum with a madam.
Let me explain. So the three of us go there. Oh, and actually, wait, I'm forgetting. I also had with us, just because she happened to be in town and she was hanging out with us for the day, Gordon Ramsay's former mistress.
Wow.
So it was Roger.
Were you in togas when you did this?
So we get there. And so Kristen was looking to run for governor at the time. And I was working on her campaign, and Roger tasked me with finding a place where she could have her campaign opening, her announcement that she's running for governor. So Roger wanted to go to the Museum of Sex. So the four of us, Gordon Ramsay's mistress, the Manhattan Madam, and political consultant turned swinger Roger Stone, we go to this Museum of Sex and try to get them to, let us have the campaign event there. And Roger explains, she's running on a platform of decriminalizing marijuana and decriminalizing prostitution and allowing gay marriage. Those are the three planks of her platform. Ultimately, they get back to us. They say, we don't like your
kind here.
Exactly. They said, we don't want you doing your campaign announcement here. So Roger says to me, all right, our campaign now has 4 items in our platform. He says, you know what number 4 is? I said, closing the Museum of Sex. He said, that's exactly right.
Was there a dentist chair in that museum? Because
so are you excited about this Grand Egyptian Museum at all, Vickie?
I mean,
no, it sounds like you're not. I think that tells me everything
excited about
I need to know.
I'm happy for them. Like, they should be making museum admissions for their own stuff rather than seeing their stuff displayed all around the world. Like, if this means that a lot of Egyptian artifacts can return to Egypt and then they can benefit from the tourism economy there, good for them.
You're not making a special trip to Egypt just to see it.
A lot of sand.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Fred Rubino's
here.
A
lot of money.
Vickie Wang is here. If we have time, we'll try and squeeze in some of your phone calls. If you want to call in, you could do so at 1-646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Straight ahead.
The Other Side of Midnight.
Build professional skills this semester with Adobe Creative Cloud and create standout work both in and out of the classroom. Save big on professional creativity tools. Students get 65% off Adobe Creative Cloud, including Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Acrobat Pro, and 20 plus creative apps. No matter what project you're working on, Adobe Creative Cloud apps can help you take it to the next level. Visit adobe.com/student to learn more.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Get ready for Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and Super Nintendo World. Now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Ray Dalio, legendary investor and New York Times best-selling author, wants to pass along his understanding of how countries go broke, because he believes the U.S. budget and debt situation needs to be addressed. To give you that knowledge, he has put the draft of his book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle, online for free. It's available now at economicprinciples.org.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Six minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. Joined in studio by comics Fred Rubino and Vickie Wang. Fred Rubino straight from New Jersey, Vickie Wang straight from Taiwan, and ironically, the tolls for Vickie were less to get here than what Fred had to pay. Really, really disconcerting. Hey, let me ask you guys about this. For obvious reasons, let me ask you, Vickie. Apparently, China has ended international adoption. Now, I know China has got a lot of people, and I know there are a lot of folks, a lot of families that for whatever reason are not able to have children that would love to adopt someone. Why would China end international adoption? What's this all about?
I mean, I feel like for them, it is a bit of a penalty thing of like, oh, the U.S. hasn't been so nice to us lately. Like, let's cut off access to something for them. But also, like, China historically have, and I mean, still to this day, have this very skewed gender ratio because of gender selection, like gender selective abortions that happen. Or
right, they would kill all the girls.
Yeah, like they prefer boys. So for a long time, there were a lot of girl babies that were being adopted internationally.
And now that they're putting an end to that, what's the stated reason for that?
The official reason is just that they no longer want their kids to be adopted internationally.
You remember Putin did something similar, I think around 2008, 2009, he put an end to adoption of Russian children, including, and it was very cruel, parents that were already in the middle of beginning the process of adopting children that they had already met. And that was one of those things that I thought was so unnecessary to have families be, a political football and trampled in this battle between the East and West. You can't adopt a Chinese baby anymore, Fred.
I wish I could, finally a smart Italian last name getting A's in school, I'm sick of the D's and the C's. My son comes home with a C's like, yeah, pin it to the refrigerator. I was like, what are you, out of your mind?
646-720-0635. Jacqueline is in Brooklyn. Jacqueline, you actually saw Fred perform recently?
I did a couple of weeks ago at St. Athanasius, and I had a fantastic time. Fred, I was sitting at one of the tables right in front of the stage, and myself and the lady next to me, we were laughing hysterically. Really had a very good time. Fred is very, very funny, and I would recommend anyone go and see one of his shows. He's really great.
And you're not being paid by Fred or anything like that, Jacqueline?
Not at all.
Gift cards.
Was a church comedy night, and I looked him up online. I wanted to see if he was any good, which he was, and I was so glad I attended. Had a really, really great time, and I'm hoping to experience Vickie's comedy as well.
All right, thank you, Jacqueline. That's very nice. Jacqueline has very, very discriminating taste as well. By the way, some people on Twitter reaching out saying that we were dead on air for about a minute. That's because one of us, I'm not gonna say who, was maybe getting a little too comfortable with certain words that you can't say on terrestrial
Freedom
radio.
is not for everyone.
Exactly.
Freedom has consequences.
Those communist Chinese have a point.
Yes.
All right.
My bad.
Speaking of freedom and the like, Jimmy Carter, at 100 years old, has managed to cast a ballot for Kamala Harris, which apparently was his goal. He said, "I hope he said he hoped that he lived long enough to cast a vote for Kamala Harris." No matter your politics, I have to think that this is pretty good news, right? I mean, this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, to still be exercising your democratic right to vote at 100 years old, that's awesome.
Fred, what about it?
I don't like it. You're 100. You shouldn't be deciding what's going to go on in the next 8 years. Okay, you're not going to eat dinner. You shouldn't be ordering at the table. Okay? So, and plus, what I didn't like is his wife voted too, and she's dead 2 years now. So that I didn't like either.
That is not true, just to be on the record. All right, speaking of voting, the Nebraska Supreme Court has apparently cleared people with felony convictions to vote after serving their time. Now, we have, in all seriousness, a huge audience among the incarcerated and the formerly incarcerated. We did a whole show, we did a whole hour one time just asking people who had been in jail what they were in jail for or prison. And the responses were staggering and voluminous. Why shouldn't people who have felony convictions be able to vote, Fred?
I think they should. I think if you did your time, I think paying your debts to society should be across the board. You should be able to vote. You should be able to do comedy. You should be able to curse on Frank's show. And, all things like that.
I think, Vickie, are we all on the same page here? Are we all thinking this is a good thing?
I agree. Yeah. If you serve your time, there's no reason why you should be continuously punished for it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, I've never understood the argument for taking away voting rights from people who years ago had a felony conviction. And yet there's still a lot of states that do.
But not in jail.
Well, so that's where there's some debate, right? And I see both sides of it, and I've heard both sides of it from formerly incarcerated people. And it's not a left-wing or a right-wing thing, but some people say, okay, why shouldn't you? And then what I've heard from other people is that there's so much control in prison that's exercised by so many different figures that you can't really tell if maybe someone else is going to be coercing you in some way,
right?
Whether it's a prison correction officer or the shot caller on your cell block or somebody else, and that maybe that's not as free a vote as you would think it would be.
I think instead of working in prison on getting guys to vote, they should work on the sodomy in prison. They should work on ending that and then work into voting and things of that nature.
By the way, shout out to our buddy Vincent listening at Fort Dix, who informed me recently that the food is pretty good at Fort Dix.
Nice.
And the specialty, and we're going to do a whole show on prison, the best foods in each prison on Monday. But he says that the baked chicken at Fort Dix is the highlight of the menu there. So keep that in mind. If I ever can't get to Taiwan in time, I'm keeping that in mind.
For the chicken.
Exactly.
It's not that I murdered 20 people. I'm here for the chicken.
We were talking about extreme weather earlier. And Vickie, last time we spoke to you from Taiwan, it was right after that earthquake that took place in Taiwan. And obviously we saw what happened with Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Now they're saying that La Nina could soon arrive, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center says that there's a 60% chance that a weak La Nina event is going to develop this autumn and could last until March. Apparently, La Nina is part of a natural climate cycle that can cause extreme weather. Are you concerned about this at all, Vickie? La Nina?
I mean, being from Taiwan, we get very severe typhoons already on top of the earthquake, so that's definitely a concern.
Do they have Spanish names, those typhoons? Do you give them Spanish names?
No. We give them Pokemon names.
Oh.
Is that true?
No.
Really? That would be great.
That would be nice.
I think that would let her guard down, which I wouldn't recommend. But yeah, like my mom has a go bag in her apartment that just
for typhoons or for earthquakes or both?
For both, really. Typhoons, you really should stay put. But
Well,
for
I would
earthquakes,
think so, yeah.
But for earthquakes, you can't have a go bag.
Fred, La Nina is coming. What do you make of it?
I think the border is so open that now even like weather patterns are sneaking into this country. You know, now what's next? We're going to find the Rio Grande up in Ohio masquerading as the Ohio River. You know, we got to close the border. Too much is coming in.
Including La Nina. All right. Last one, last news item I'll ask you guys about. Well, maybe the penultimate news item. A couple feels humiliated that no one is attending their non-traditional wedding with a rave theme. I'm glad I wasn't invited to this because I would have felt an obligation to go, and I couldn't be more out of place anywhere than at a rave. I mean, Fred, I know you like ecstasy as much as the next guy, but I could see you skipping this wedding as well.
I will take any excuse not to go to a wedding. Any excuse. A destination wedding, I open it up, Bolivia, beautiful, I'm not going. See, that's why I miss COVID, because it was the ultimate excuse. Oh, your kid's getting christened. Oh, got COVID. Can't. That's why I'm rooting for monkeypox right now. I want monkeypox to get the excuses.
You know, it's fun. By the way, were you in Taiwan during COVID, Vickie?
I was in China
Oh,
during
you were in
COVID.
China during COVID.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Honestly, for the first year and a half of COVID, living in China was really normal because they just clamped down. Like they started doing hardcore
You're used
lockdowns.
to a clamping down.
Yeah. They locked down really early on, so there were no cases within the China border. So for the first year and a half, it was good, and then things really went off the rails when they started locking down again. By the time everyone else was like.
So did you have to deal with everything we had to deal with in terms of businesses being closed and things of that nature?
Yes, at different times than Americans did, but yes, we did.
Yeah. All right. Would you go to this rave-themed wedding?
Are there chairs?
I don't know. It wasn't clear to me based on the article. I don't think there were. And how could this couple be irked that nobody would want to come?
And now listen, if they invite you to a rave wedding and you just get out of control and you ruin that whole wedding, it's not really on you.
No, yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, it's a rave.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know,
right.
the bride's mom, you pinched her ass, you know, something happened. Hey, it's a rave.
Exactly.
You shouldn't have invited me.
Exactly.
I tell everybody, you shouldn't have invited me.
I can promise you, if I ever have a second wedding, Fred, that will not be an issue. I can promise you that.
So
I have monkeypox, by the way.
I read that article too, and it really just sounds like the couple doesn't have very good friends, because they were like, oh yeah, you know, maybe the rave thing is too young, but they claim that their friends are mostly in their early to mid 20s. So it's not an age thing. Like, I would say no to a rave themed wedding because, like, my back is going to hurt.
Yeah. I mean, would you go to a rave under normal circumstances?
No. I go to a concert with compression socks on. Like, I am not in the market for a rave themed wedding. I want to sit down. I want food served to me. And I want to pretend to cry a little bit and be very happy for them. And I want to move on.
I think much like the felon voting, that's one area where all three of us are in agreement. All right. Vickie Wang has been my guest. You can check out her website at VickieW.com. That's VickieW.com. Thank you, Vickie. Fred Rubino, you can check him out at FredRubino.com. Thank you, Fred.
Let's go monkeypox.
For everyone else, keep asking questions.